So if you want to hear any lore whatsoever, make sure you're in the Discord. While you're there, once a week I ask a question. First person to get the question right picks lore for the week. This week, it was the Deadly Lampshade. He told me to pick whatever I wanted from Fallout 2, and I picked New Reno. New Reno, nicknamed the biggest little city in the world, built upon the ruins of the city of Reno, Nevada. Known for its freedoms and abundance of alcohol, drugs, and prostitution. There's a pirate city that this reminded me a lot of. I don't remember if it's Nassau. I think it's Nassau, or it's like a Libertalia, kind of like how in Fallout 4 they have Libertalia. This reminded me a lot of that. It was also known for its casinos, the Shark Club, and the Desperado, and other locations of interest being the Golden Glows, a porn studio, which, if I remember correctly, there is a side quest in Fallout 2 where you can star in a porno. The Jungle Gym, which is a 10 out of 10 name, is a boxing gym, and the Cat's Paw Brothel, which is a brothel. It also has New Reno Arms, which is a weapons emporium. By 2241, there are four families that are currently running New Reno. They are the Mordinos, the Bishops, the Wrights, and the Salvatores. Now, by 2281, the families are still there except for the Mordinos and the Salvatores, and it's mostly run by the Wrights. The Bishops are still there, but I get into more of like how they're there, but they're not a little later. And the Van Graffs have started to slowly move in. I love the Van Graffs. I should do lore on the Van Graffs, because I love a ruthless, like... The Van Graffs and Caesar have a lot in common. Like, a lot. In the sense of, like, how ruthless they are. That it's like, I don't care, I want this done, get it done, or you're dead. I like them. The New California Republic had strong ties to the Bishop family and eventually annexed New Reno because of these ties, which, again, I get into a little bit more later. I talk a little bit more about Vault City and Redding. They kept a huge amount of autonomy despite New Reno being annexed by the NCR. They never had a proper police force or an official government. The families kept the city safe for the tourists. Now, anybody who was either deemed a troublemaker or would start something or disrupt the tourist industry in any way, they were sent to the burial site known as Golgotha. It's also where Jet was developed, near the stables in New Reno by the boy genius Mormon child Myrnon. If you've been here for a while, you know that's an old school meme. That's like... Again. That's a meme since, like, the very early days of the show. We were poking fun at an individual who didn't know how to pronounce Myron's name, and he was calling him Myrnon. This is probably the last time I'll do that joke. It's probably not, but it's probably the last time it's gonna be the first of the last times I'm gonna say that I'm doing that joke for the last time. All of the families have dealers that then sell the Jet. This is where Jet originated, so this is a big thing that people are coming to do. This is a big reason. I don't have this written down, but I remember watching something that it was talking about what would be the currency of the Wasteland. Why is it bottle caps? And how bottle caps, I want to say it was a MatPat video, which is like hurts to say, but it made sense listening to it. Bottle caps would be equal to this bottle of water equals X caps, but the way bottle caps became the currency most likely was because of the drug trade. Because that's what happened with the Silk Road. People were trading silks and whatnot and drugs and what have you, and they were trading monetarily in gold, and gold became the currency. And then eventually, in the New World, the dollar, the US dollar, was backed by gold, and now it's not, and our money means nothing. New Reno is also a major player in the Big Circle trading route for the Brahmin packs. It's actually, if you play Caravan in New Vegas, I believe it's one of the spots. It's like the hub. I think Redding is on there. Vault City, I believe, is on there. It's a major spot that these Brahmin Caravan go around. From the den, a lot of really major goods are brought from the den to other places. And from Vault City, because of their advanced Vault tech, they can bring in chemicals in bulk, in vast amounts. For most of Northern California, the main export of New Reno is just drugs and alcohol. Which, yeah, let's get them in for the jet, because this is where the good shit is. But then we can also get them to drink. And again, most of Northern California is this spot in Nevada. Get them in for the drugs, get them in for the booze, get them in for the prostitution, get them in for all this good stuff. And then from there, we can ship it out, and it's not as good, so they'll always come back. It's a devious, just twisted backwards way of hooking people into something. By 2240, when the Mordinos control most of the prostitution in the town, I can't imagine in a city that's like knockoff Vegas before New Vegas, that there isn't every casino, every family doesn't have a pimp that's in charge of a bunch of girls. Even if the Mordinos are the number one, like, is pimpin', like, they have everything. The Wrights control the drugs and the booze. By the 23rd century, New Reno was the largest population in Northern California. Because of the swell in population, the overabundance of people, the lack of resources, most people had to turn to crime just to get by. So you couldn't just be like, I'm going to be a plumber and like get by. You had to become a made man. You had to become part of a mob, a family, just for the protection. Before 2241, before New Reno switched over to the dollar was supported by the gold coming out of Redding. Now, because of this, it made landmass control very, very difficult for all of the families. Redding was too far away of a settlement, so that it was like just far away enough that it wasn't worth it for people to send people to go there to try to take over. It was very much, we can't go there because it's so far out of the way and it's not going to be worth our time. It's cheaper and easier for us to have them kind of be their own thing because they're as far away as they are. Dan McGraw becomes the representative for New Reno inside of Redding, so they have someone to kind of talk to about the gold coming in and out and the money and everything they need. So in Northern California, the Mordinos wanted to own all of the control. They wanted all the control of the land. And this is where Myron comes in, because what they wanted to do is they wanted to get all of the miners in Redding hooked on jet. Because if you're hooked on jet, they could essentially enslave them. You want more jet? Okay, well, make sure we get 10% more. Make sure you're helping us out. If you control the money, you control everything else. So to make sure they could get more jet, and they kind of wanted to keep their nose clean, they kind of wanted to stay out of it, the Mordinos traded slaves to the Den for then the Den to trade with Vault City for chemicals in bulk, so then the Den could then give the Mordinos the chemicals so they could make the jet. Vault City originally denies the offer, and the bishops would put together a plan to bully Vault City into joining the NCR alliance a few months later. So in the lore for Vault City, I know I've done that before. I talk about that a bit more. They kind of wanted to stay independent, and the bishops kind of like, you're going to do this. And one thing leads to another, and eventually they just say, fuck it, and they're part of the NCR. The bishops also invested in New Reno's infrastructure, so they actually have operating telephones, which I don't think any Fallout game has mentioned that phones work in any capacity. So other than the She, I can't see this, like, they're super advanced for their time, yes. The She, way more advanced, but, like, that's a huge advancement to be able to ring up another person to be like, did you hear what happened on 42nd and Virgin Street? Like, that's really its own thing. The Salvatores put their money on the Enclave, trading chemicals needed to develop FEV Curling 13 in exchange for low-grade laser weapons. Now, we're still at a point where it's tribal, more or less. Like Fallout 2 opens in a tribe. Here's a casino. Here's a group of people. And now these tribal morons have laser guns. They're low grade, but even though they're low grade, they're laser weapons, so they have such an advantage over the other families. Now, after the destruction of the Enclave oil rig, The Salvatores suffered tremendously because they didn't have the backing there. Also, shortly after the destruction, the cure for jet addiction was found, and this really, really hurt the Mordinos. Along with Myron's death that came in 2242, a year after the events of Fallout 2. The Wrights and the Bishops started to take over after the fall of the past two families, and later on they would align with the NCR. They would join the NCR. New Reno was, like I said prior, part of the NCR because of the Bishops. The Bishops began to work more in the background, and the Van Graffs, now that the Wrights are somewhat of like the face, because the Bishop's like, all right, well, you know, we got to do what we got to do. We're going to stay in the back. And we're going to talk to the government about it. And they're going to stay out of our business, but I'm going to slide them 15 off the top. Now that the Wrights are kind of like the Corleones of New Reno, for lack of a better example, the Van Graffs see a weak point and move in. And like I was saying earlier, I love the Van Graffs. They get shit done. They put numbers on the board. I appreciate that in the Wasteland. They kind of step up, and there is a lot of strife that happens between the two of them. Again, this is all stuff that happens after the game that's kind of explained to you. This even might be explained in New Vegas, now that I think about it. I get all of my lore off of fallout.fandom.com. So in 2274, New Vegas and the Strip is created, and this creates a ton of competition for New Reno. The Van Graffs are there. So they're like, we want this, but we want a big state. Well, they're in Freeside, sorry. But still, they want to make their way in. So you can go to New Vegas that's regulated and clean and safe and has some NCR backing. But you can go to the Tops, you can go to the Gomorrah, you can go to the Ultralux. Or you can go to New Reno and get hepatitis and do some really strong jet. That brings us to pretty much everywhere we are that we know of in the current time frame of New Reno. This is just some notes. Again, all my lore from fallout.fandom.com. New Reno is a trading location for the Happy Trails Caravan Company in 2281. Clayton I don't think I've ever had to say this out loud. Etienne, Ettienne, Mags, and Stella from Fallout New Vegas all grew up in New Reno. The Courier can mention having visited the Shark Club in New Reno in their past. Causing havoc in the street can actually earn the player idolized reputation in New Reno. And Billy Knight, who you meet in Novak, I believe, yes, for his stand-up routine for the Tops, mentions that he did his stand-up routine in New Reno. That's New Reno. That's the world's biggest little city. I don't know about you guys, but in the States, we had Comedy Central, and I grew up watching Reno 911 and not understanding half of that show, but thinking it was hilarious.
Oh! Wait, what? I'm just goofing. New boot goofing. Oh!
That's a really fun city. I'd like to do more Fallout 2 stuff. I'd like to actually beat Fallout 2 sometime soon. I gotta beat Fallout 1 first, but we're getting there. But that, my friends, is lore.